I learned there for 2 years as a civil engineer, and here I just try and.
Can you do all 4 years here if you want to?
No, I have only 1 year, and then I'm not allowed to learn here for 2 or 3 years.
Really?
Yeah.
That's a weird visa, so they just don't want anybody to come back.
No, they want you to tell everybody in your country how cool is here and not to return too early.
That's weird though, as you would think, is you can get student visas for 4 years.
No, can't.
Do they change it? Maybe it's only in graduate school you can do that.
I'm not sure, but.
Huh. Okay. What part of Russia? What part of Russia?
I'm from the south, but my university is in St. Petersburg.
Okay. I've only ever been as far as India.
India.
I know that that's not close, but for us, it's closer than the United States, right?
Yeah.
It's only like a 6-hour flight instead of a 17-hour flight.
Yes, it was a hard flight.
That's a terrible flight. When you have to fly for that long.
How long is it?
I had a flight like from St. Petersburg to other country and then to Atlanta, and it was 9 hours just from Amsterdam. Yes, from Amsterdam to Atlanta, and there was from St. Petersburg to Amsterdam, from Atlanta to Dayton. So the whole thing.
So you gotta catch like 3 planes.
Huh?
So you gotta catch like 3 flights.
At least 3.
Yeah.
It's probably 16 hours, right?
Yeah, it was like a lot of time.
So sometimes 24 hours with layovers. Like you're falling asleep in the airport, and waking up. Is your country 20 hours behind us right now?
No, we have 7 hours between us.
7?
Yeah.
That's not bad. Oh, because it would go, I guess it would go either 12 hours that way or 12 hours this way. I didn't think about that. So is it tomorrow there or is it today, yesterday?
It is tomorrow. Yes.
It's Friday.
It's this time they all are probably slept.
Oh, it's Friday at midnight. If they're all partying, they're still awake. Well, it's Thursday at midnight. Okay. All right. Yeah, I did that when I visited India twice with Miami University. I guess I should do an introduction and you guys can introduce yourselves. My name is Dr. Jonathan Trouth. I'm a social worker. Hello. How are you? Good. I have 21 years as a social worker and about 11 years as a teacher. I've taught full-time as a teacher for 6 or 7 now. I still practice. I've worked at 3 years at Claremont Recovery Center, 4 years at Ohio Mentor, and then 7 years at Lighthouse Youth Services, and now I'm at hospice. So, any of you guys in your internships yet? Are you doing internships? Next semester, I guess? Okay. I've taught, this is my 7th semester at Central State University. So, I guess that's it. Anybody else want to introduce yourselves? Hello, how are you? Good. Sure.
Angelia,
Uh-huh.
25, soldier, and ready to be done here.
Yeah, you'll graduate in May.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And you qualify for the advanced standing MSW in graduate school. If you get a bachelor's of social work from an accredited university, which we are right now, it cuts out half of your graduate school. So I had to go for 65 hours. You only have to go for 35 hours because they're counting your senior year as your first year of graduate school, really. And then you only have to do 2 internships instead of 3 900-hour or 3 300-hour internships. So you'd be done. You have to add 1 more year on. People are like, no. I even said, I'm never going to graduate school. Then I went again. Then I got my doctorate. And I was working all the way through full time. So it's hard, but not impossible. Cool. What city are you from?
I'm from Michigan, like the suburbs of the area.
Okay. 9 Mile?
Yeah, I'm not just 5 miles.
Oakland?
No, Utica.
Okay.
Like in Macomb County.
Okay. Cool. Awesome. Oh, it's already dying on me. Well, cool. Who wants to go next? Okay.
My name is Tyrone. You call me Ty. I'm from Cleveland. I'm class of 23.
So you're like a junior now.
Yeah.
Okay, for juniors and seniors, here's another public service announcement. If you remember Dr. Ebony Speaks from last year, she now teaches at the University of Cincinnati. They got a grant to bring all of our juniors or seniors down to visit the graduate school at the University of Cincinnati. And they pay for like the bus, a hotel, and I guess even food down there. They tour the university and you come home within the weekend. I don't know how, and it's November 5th. So keep that in mind and email her and the field director. They want me to come, but I'm like, I've had 2 babies in 1 year and my wife might kill me. And she's like, we'll set you up in a house. Hello.
How you doing?
How are you?
I'm doing okay. How are you?
I'm okay. These are my long days, so you guys get me I have a 12-hour Thursday, so it's like.
You know, you can always cut the day short.
Right?
Uh-huh.
That's why we film it too, so you guys could even like log in online and ask your question right here on YouTube Live. So, yeah. How many other classes do you guys have?
Today?
Yes.
No.
None.
Oh,
Good.
that's messed up. I got one
Do you?
earlier.
And then you were any other introduction for your? You graduate in 23. That's only like a year and a half away, for real. For real, for real. It's going fast. Cool. Well, welcome. Anybody else want to introduce themselves? Have you guys had me before? Probably some of you once or twice. Okay. Intro or not hbse because that's what this is. Groups, practice 2.
I forgot which one it was.
That's okay. You don't have to remember. Are most of you guys sophomores and juniors?
I'm a junior.
Are you also one? You don't know, I guess. So, do you want to introduce yourself again for those who came in late? That didn't sound good.
I got the math off later.
And then, yeah, I was going to say, and then,
Earlier, so I got one.
and then there's sirens. But okay.
I say leave.
What year are you now? Are you in
I graduated in 23.
Okay, so you're like you guys are halfway done already, aren't you?
I would have graduated if it wasn't for COVID, but we ain't gonna go there.
Ugh,
We ain't gonna go there.
COVID's pretty bad. How did Russia affect COVID with your lockdowns and all that?
It was awful because there were laws, but nobody really corresponded to these laws. So it went awful, and now it is like the same situation, and I don't want to be there.
Right.
So I'm here.
It sounds like America, kind of. Okay. Yeah. What year did you finish high school?
High school?
Yeah, were you done with high school like 4 years ago?
No, 2 years ago.
Okay, so you're kind of like a sophomore, we would call it, which is like your 3rd and 4th year of college in general. So COVID slowed you down because everything went online.
Yes. And I was an engineering major at the time, so none of our classes could be online. So I just ended up switching it so I could be done faster.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Which major did you switch to?
Psychology.
Okay. See, then I'll be the one who talks you into social work because you can get a license and get good jobs with social work fast. And it cuts off a year of graduate school because we're an accredited university. And if you graduate from an accredited university, I double majored psychology and theology. I wish somebody told me to add social work instead because if you finish here with the BSW, a grad school only takes you 35 hours instead of 65 hours. So I was in grad school for like 2.5 to 3 years. If somebody had told me to get a bachelor's in social work, I would have cut all of that 30 extra hours off, save about $10,000 or $12,000, and be a lot younger. Instead of 43 standing in front of you guys, I'd be like 39. But whatever, it's okay. Life happens.
That's been my move since COVID.
What's that?
That's been my whole move since COVID.
Yeah. Yeah. So, anybody else want to introduce themselves next? That ends. And okay.
I'm Reagan.
So you're 2024. Okay. You're a quarter of the way done. It's still going to go faster than you know. Just stay on target. Don't give up. Turn in them assignments and be done. It can be a little bit overwhelming. There was moments where I had to restructure my whole college education, and it took me 5.5 years instead of 4. I took an extra 1.5 years. It sucked. It was expensive, but I got it done. I have student loans now. So
They supposed to be getting rid of those, fingers crossed.
I know, right? Well, I've got a lot, so that would be amazing. What is your primary language in Russia?
Russian. Like,
So not English, or
no.
only in India they have English as their primary language.
Many countries have like similar to English languages, I guess, in that part of the world.
Is it hard to understand us? I guess that's the.
There is a kind of little things.
Okay.
And when you go fast.
Right. Okay. Okay. That's what I want to be aware of. So feel free to ask us to repeat. Well, you two are the last two that introduce.
All right.
That's not good. You want me to go ahead?
All right, my name is Davion. I'm from Cleveland. I'm a sophomore, and I'm a social work major.
Awesome. Welcome. So you're 2023 also.
Yeah.
You're halfway
Semester,
done.
I'll be a junior.
Sweet. You are halfway done. That's cool. All right.
We just give our name, our hometown, and our major.
Yeah. That works.
My name is Alicia. I'm from Cleveland, Ohio, too. And
Yes.
I'm a junior.
Okay. Any of you guys do sports at all, or nobody? Do?
I'm retired.
Are you?
Yeah.
So what year did you finish?
Nah, like I didn't do it at the high school.
Okay.
I wanted to get a job. I like money.
Right. They don't really pay you to play
They
sports. They act like they do, but they don't. Like they'll give you a half a scholarship. Okay. Well, cool. And then go ahead and introduce yourself again if you want.
Okay, I'm Valeria. I went from Russia. It is far, far away. I'm 20 years old, and I'm kind of a sophomore here. I'm a civil engineer. Here, there is no my specialty, so I just try everything and understand what is
Mm-hmm.
most.
And will all these credits count for you over there?
Yeah,
That's fun.
somehow.
But is it more expensive or less expensive to come here?
As I'm an exchange student, I don't pay for it.
Okay.
It is like a program that pays for us.
It's your college tuition. Your normal college tuition pays for it.
Yes.
Right.
So
Okay.
can afford it. Like.
Yeah, I did mine in. I lived in El Salvador, Nicaragua in 1999. I spent 7 months there and learned Spanish, and my Spanish is terrible. And got 18 credit hours and brought it all home to me, to Xavier in Cincinnati, and graduated in 2000. So I started my social work career in 2001, both practice and education wise. So I was going to jump into the syllabus or the first chapter PowerPoint, but you guys, who does not have access to D2L? That's the most important thing.
I'm working on it.
Okay, cool. Because basically you'll turn in your assignments there. We're going to have a few major assignments, discussion board every 10 to 15 days, and that's ultimately it. So I will film here. I don't know how well it will show, but you'll at least have class. If you ask a question on the discussion, I can know that you showed up and at least watched some of it. I would fail if I did that. Like during COVID, I would have failed out of college. If it was all online, I would have failed out. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I'm that type of person. I got to be in person. So everybody learns differently though. So if you're good at the electronic stuff, I guess COVID was good for you. You know, like it was a tough time, I think. Last year, did we come back in person? I can't even remember.
It was like half and half. So like it was like before spring break, and then after spring break, they basically said don't come back.
Okay. So that was 2020, right?
Yeah.
And in the fall, we did both hybrid and virtual. And then in the spring, we did both hybrid and virtual, it feels like. I can't.
Technically, we're not supposed to be back if we're not vaccinated.
Really?
Really.
What?
You're supposed to be online if you're not vaccinated.
I told them.
I thought you just wear a mask.
No, you're supposed to be vaccinated.
So who said that?
Central. It was a long email.
They can't force a
That's
vaccine
what I'm saying,
mandate.
like,
I
I like
agree,
getting
that's
vaccinated,
what
bro.
they
That
said.
shit over with.
Because it's until here's what you need. I don't know how it is in Russia, but until it's fully approved by the FDA, which is the
Yeah.
Food and Drug Administration, and this is since 1945, when we had World War II, and there were Jewish people in concentration camps, and they did experimental vaccines on them.
Yeah.
So the world got together and formed what's called the Geneva Conventions. They said we will no longer allow people to have experimental vaccines shot into their body. You can choose to have it. You can say, yeah, shoot me up with that. Like, I'm afraid of COVID, even though it only kills 0.003% of the population. I'm afraid of it. Give me the vaccine. The vaccine, it should be a choice. When do they send that email?
I heard that you can't try out for the football team unless you do.
Yeah.
Okay, sports I've heard is that's NCAA. And that's kind of like,
I just don't understand it because there's people who still dying that got the vaccination from
yes,
COVID. So
exactly.
like, I'm okay. I take my
Cool, I
chances.
take my chances.
I take my
When I
chances.
die, y'all gonna know I didn't have the vaccine.
Well,
It's gonna make sense.
what I've heard is a 99% survival rate. My mom got it and she's 74 years old and she was fine. She felt sick for a week, but my wife said she lost her sense of smell and taste.
When I got it, I just had headaches all the time.
Right. That's what I was saying. So there's a 99.7%.
I haven't had it, so I'm just going for the math.
And it could have been a little virus that escaped a lab in China, and it's gotten worse and worse. And even vaccines make it worse because they transform themselves to get around the vaccine.
Right.
That's the whole reason it's Delta variant and transformation of Lambda variant, I think. So the key is you guys stay healthy. The most important vitamin you need, I don't know if you guys have heard this. Have you heard which vitamin in the research study is linking you to, you have a shortage of vitamin D, and you guys know how to get vitamin D?
Maybe like orange juice and stuff like that.
That'll have it. Number one is the sun, but the problem is all throughout the summer, the darker we get, the less sun we absorb. So you want to take a pill or, vitamin D milk. They fortify milk with vitamin D. They started that when cities were in tall buildings, kids didn't get enough sun, so they started putting vitamin D inside of milk. But really, vitamin D comes right through our skin. You lay out there in the sun. 100 years ago, we had a pandemic. They laid everybody out in the sun. So vitamins B, C, and D are the three biggest. And then chaga mushrooms. I'm going to see if I can look this up.
Thank you. I swear I thought you were about to say your chocolate mushroom.
Chaga mushrooms. Everybody thinks I'm saying chocolate mushrooms in the other class. But I'm saying chaga, C-H-A-G-A. Let's see if I can drag
I got a
this.
question, but don't judge me for my question.
Okay.
Because it don't tell me on my schedule. What class is this?
Human behavior in the social environment.
Oh, okay. I know.
Are you in the right one?
Yeah, I'm in the right class. They tell me the roll number and stuff. I just didn't know your name and what class it was. It just
Right.
said be here at this day, this time.
Well, it is confusing, yeah. It's and we're all getting used to this new whatchamacallit. So let's get out of Scholar and we'll go chaga. How do you get that? Because I even bought the loose leaf stuff. So like they got pills of it at Walmart. There's 3 supplements and 3 vitamins to stay healthy. Chaga mushrooms are antiviral. That's why you buy these. They kill viruses. I take it every day. I've never gotten it. My wife got it because she was pregnant. I don't think you can take supplements when you're pregnant. She was still okay pregnant. She thinks we had our girl in May of last year, or June of last year, the boy in May of this year. So they're only 10 and a half months
Oh,
apart.
I was busy.
And I'm 43 years old. So I'm like, I'll be on a cane.
Yeah, it's okay. Take a bite. You can all right.
So chaga mushrooms.
Like, is it an actual mushroom there? Like,
Oh yeah, it's a mushroom. I bet.
It's probably gross I feel like it's
Like a
gross.
fungus mushroom. That's it.
Like, I just
Right, if you didn't take the pill, I'll show you because I have the actual shredded up tea. I bet you. Well, there it is. They grow it in Canada, but it's like full of vitamin C and like it's antiviral. I don't know how else to say it. Like it will kill like herpes virus and coronavirus and all the viruses that you can get, like cold sores. What's that?
Why they wanted to make like a vaccine or something? Medicine?
I guess because the pharmaceuticals want to make their money. You know what I mean?
That's really what it is.
I know. I can't really say that without somebody getting angry about it. I will push you either way. If you choose to get the vaccine, that's okay. If you choose not to, it's okay. I don't know. Was it easy to get it if you guys were able to get it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's water.
Was it 2 shots or was it just 1?
It was two.
Okay.
Second one, your arm hurt for like 2 weeks.
You got sick?
Like my arm was like sore.
Okay.
I've had headaches all the
Okay.
They said this one like strictly for the dudes though.
Is there?
They said this one strictly for like.
I didn't know that.
I remember 3 different ones.
That's what I'm saying. I
I
think the
know
third
it's
one
really
like strictly dudes.
One that's better for
Females
dudes.
can't handle it or something.
Oh, because of blood clotting.
Yeah,
That's probably why. There's one that like can make, I guess because of menstrual cycles especially, like blood clotting could be worse for women, so that's why maybe only men are recommended to take it.
I'm not doing it.
Right. So like I said, I'm totally, absolutely neutral on this. It's okay if you did. There is also 1 or 2 other supplements, elderberries.
I think elderberries.
You do?
Yeah,
Okay.
twice a week.
So like you can also do that in pill form. You can also, my wife makes a syrup. And I have a bush I grow in the backyard. So I got an elderberry bush. We grow these little things and she boils them and then puts honey in it, and cinnamon, and there's pills. So elderberry is antiviral. There's like double-blind studies that show that it killed the flu virus if you just chug on those or eat. They got gummies. The gummies are the best. And then colloidal silver. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of that, but that's one other supplement that's actually really good. And this you can make out of like a, it's a liquid and it also kills viruses. So sometimes, like when it was first bad, I'd spray myself from head to toe with silver and it was supposed to kill the virus. So anyway, that's the one that I usually get, but it's not cheap, I will say. So I bought a little kit to make my own silver liquid. So those are 3, and then again, vitamin B, C, and D. And D is the most important. You get it from the sun, but we absorb less and less the longer. And in the winter, you can't get much vitamin D from the sun. There's no sun really. Russia, I bet, is really cold up in the winter.
I'm from the south and the weather is just exactly the same. It is here. It is humid and hot as hell.
Okay, like this same temperature. That's hello.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Well, we were just finishing introductions because because we started a day late and $1 short here. Let's see here.
Why did we start a day late? I want to hear first.
Just because nobody came the first day.
Oh, and I want.
So I could be all pissed about it, but I'm not going to be all pissed about it. You know what I mean? Like, what's the point? It's a Tuesday, Thursday class at 2:30. Davion made it. Were you the only one? Only male? Then who else came?
He's still the only man.
That I got used to in social work for my entire life now. I was the only straight male in all of my class, like every single class, for real.
No, you straight male in here.
Right. Which is fine. It's just, it's still more.
I don't care about the
That's right. Exactly. That does. I started in graduate school though, so there's only like less time. It's not showing. If you want to introduce yourself, you're the last one.
Hey y'all, my name's Chanel. I'm a junior and I'm a psychology major.
Ah. I'm going to be the one who tries to convince you to double up on social work because does it do the voice to text? I hate when it does on the bottom of the screen. It says everything that I say. So weird. But because you get a license, I'm not telling, I was a psych major and a theology major. And I wish somebody had told me to get the work done because I would have cut out 2 years of graduate school and about $15,000. What do you want to do with your psych majors? Okay. That's exactly where I was, even my junior and senior year. I'm like, I just want a damn job. So, okay. I already jumped us up to chapter 2, but I want to get into the ecological theory. So that is more in the middle of the chapter, unfortunately. We're going to go, it's in counseling, they would call our class human development. So you go from conception to death. And I think in psychology, you guys have a class called human development. Ah, okay. But this would be a good filler. It's almost similar to human development. Oh, it's a fun. I like it because you're like talking about everything from conception to death, and it's cool. I know it can be interesting at times, but it's easy to cruise through a lot of this stuff too. And here, you guys, like I said, you'll have a few major assignments and your final, and then you'll have like a discussion board every 10 or 15 days. That's it. Simple enough. Reply to a couple of your classmates, and keep it simple is my theory forever. I wish we weren't in this view though. Do you guys have any questions to start out? Like with the syllabus should be in there. I also email it to everybody. If you need me to send it again, just email me and I'll send it back. You guys, what's that?
The book, like title and everything.
Oh, the book, yes. Ashford is our book. ASHFORD. Let's see if it tells you on these PowerPoints. Oh yeah, it's in download, that's why. Ashford. So if you were to go into Ashford chapter 3, let's see if it shows you. I have to hit play again. So it doesn't. That's the gentleman's name, but it's basically just author is Ashford, title is Human Behavior in the Social Environment. It's a required course in all social work classes, just like psychology has human development. Do you guys do pregnancy, birth, and the newborn in psychology? I'm curious about that book. Do you have a copy of your book?
No, mine's just online, so.
Okay. So right now I'm skipping theories. We'll come back to it, but starting at chapter 3, pregnancy, which is all of our favorite topics, something I wanted to avoid for like 25 years of my life, and then all of a sudden, the last 3 years, it's the only topic of conversation. Like time to, pass on your genes or however, like there's several ways to go about it. But so assessing, as a social worker, you're going to be assessing expectant parents. Like whatever their attachment and commitments are. A lot of parents, I'd say myself included, so like new parents, making sure the finances are okay. Like, can you afford this, especially in America? Like first world lifestyle. Do you think America or Russia is more expensive to buy things?
America, but it is economical thing. In Russia, many families who have a lot of children are not very, their life quality is lower and they just don't think much about it. Like, that's not our problem.
Right.
And that is the problem.
So the government will take care of them, you mean? Kind of. I want to see if I can close this. I'm old and can't hear even though you guys. Yeah, I had my first baby at 42 and my second baby at 43. My wife was 35 this year and they call it a geriatric pregnancy. So she got all pissed about that. She's like, I'm not geriatric. It means you're old.
Oh.
And she was pissed. She's like, I can have babies for 5 more years. So she does want to have another one, but having 2 in less than a year is starting to change her mind. She's like, there's no damn way I'm ever going to do it.
So, at what age do they declare that?
What age you think you said? I'm sorry.
Like, what age do they declare that where did you say?
Oh, what age are you a geriatric pregnancy? At 35.
Oh, so she was just big.
But she was still pissed. She's like, I am not geriatric.
I heard people 63 times.
Yes, especially men. Because I went through we did a fertility training last night. And the key terms out of that is men are always fertile. Like men until the day that they die, as long as you got good swimmers, you're okay. Women, on the other hand, their key years are like 20, really even 15 to 35. You can still have kids at 40 and 45, no problem. Like a lot of
That is so unfortunate.
movie stars. Isn't there like, who had the oldest baby? There's a movie star who had a baby. And I was like, huh? Janet Jackson, or was it somebody else? Well, Rocky Balboa, is that Sylvester Stallone? He had a kid at like 60.
That's ridiculous.
That's a little bit old. He had 3 daughters at like 58, 59, and 60. So, as a social worker, you want to see their attachments and commitments. Like, are they working 80 hours a week to pay for the kids? Like, who are they committed to? How are they mentally representing the fetal infant? Like, are they smoking crack, or are they just smoking cigarettes, or are they not smoking at all? Are they drinking beer, or drinking good hydrated water, or like eating a healthy diet? Are they stressed out all the time? Is they working too much, and that stress passes to the infant through cortisol? So there's a lot of research on that. It causes trauma. We'll get into that later on. But like, believe it or not, PTSD and trauma can be passed to the infant in your womb, which I know you guys have probably already heard this. But if you're stressed out all the time, your baby's going to have heightened cortisol levels inside of their brain and fetal development and whatnot. As a social worker, you want to ask about the past history of social and professional support. Like, if they did smoke a lot of crack or drink a bunch of beer, have they gone through rehab? Are they sober now? Fetal alcohol syndrome is real. Like in America, we have a lot of cases. I don't know if in Russia you guys ever see fetal alcohol syndrome, but if mom drinks during pregnancy, they used to say you could have 1 or 2. Now they're like, nothing. You can't touch the crap. It will mess up the baby. So like if it got into the bloodstream, the baby's so small, like imagine one beer is like the size of the baby. Like there it is. Imagine how drunk you get from that one beer. So they say none now. Back in the 70s and 80s, I always tell my mom I saw a picture of her drinking and smoking with me, and that's what messed me up. And she's like, no, I didn't. And so we fight about it. But it was normal for women to smoke and drink. Like they had advertisements like your life is better with a Camel cigarette. Like you can look up those commercials. Nowadays, we have research that proves it can actually mess up the child in utero. So starting out early, you do want to make sure you're assessing these. As a social worker, sometimes too, at the hospital, the first poop, could you guess how long back the first poop that the baby has covers in days or weeks or months of the mom's consumption history, I would say? Very first poop the baby ever has, because the baby's never pooped, really, in utero. If they did, it could make them sick. So the first poop has like 7 months of everything the mom's ever used and done. It covers 7 months. And then I worked as a social worker at Claremont Recovery Center. I'd have to go see teenage girls that were maybe 17 that had a kid, and they tested positive for just THC. And it was like 7 months ago. You know, they didn't even know they were pregnant, probably smoking a joint, and they get popped. They don't do that as much as they used to, but the first poop of the baby is like real thick, tarry, like it's their first poop ever. It's like everything coming out of their system. It is. It's a nasty diaper to change too.
I'm pretty sure.
You're like. So we had 2 COVID babies. That was fun. History of loss, especially if they had like a loss, a stressful event during the pregnancy, that can be passed to the child. The sense of security And then work and parental leave policies. So anybody know anything about like how long you get off after you have a baby?
I think it's 12 weeks.
It can be.
Up to 12 weeks.
Like FMLA, do you think it's all paid or
No,
it's?
probably not.
That's the catch. Like if you have built up paid time off, it could be. Family Medical Leave Act says you have to rehire somebody up to 12 weeks, I think. It might even be longer. But you're not going to have 12 weeks of paid time off would be a lot. If there's 52 weeks in a year and you average $50,000 a year, 12 weeks would be $12,000. That's a lot of money. So you want to ask about that. Any other questions you would ask if you were a social worker or psychologist with a pregnant mom? And dad, I mean, I know.
Other than these questions?
Right. Just to make sure they're good to go. Like sometimes domestic violence questions are
I would
good.
act like they live in a situation.
Who they're living with? Like, are you living out of your car, a van down by the river, or your parents' house, or do you have your own? Well, that's a good question. Because that's stressful too. You got like 6 generations in the same household. That can be, I know I'm exaggerating there, but sometimes you see 3 or 4 generations in the same household. In
I think it's
1990.
just more stressful for like the younger people. So like you got some people with strict parents and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's normally like the kids with strict parents who tend to get pregnant at younger ages. And
Right.
the parents be like, you gotta get out because
Right.
you're dealing with this. And then that just makes sense.
Because we'll get into it later in terms of trauma, it's a stress relief. Like you want to get away from your parents. During the pandemic, there's COVID babies because there was no movies. So your movie was sex. Like that's stress relief. You know what I mean? So like, of course, they're looking for an outlet. And if they don't have proper ways, if they don't know their fertility cycle, that's a new thing that I don't think we get enough training on. But essentially, this picture is good as I had to train last night. So there is several, but the most recent fertility training is called the Creighton method. The Creighton method basically assesses, and this is the man and the woman having to talk about mucus, which is like frightening, like, oh my God, I'm not going to talk about it. But the woman assesses the mucus every time she uses the bathroom. And like if there is a lot of mucus and then they test it, and you can Google this on the Creighton method. If it's like, if the mucus stretches an inch, and it might seem gross that you test it that way, but if it goes like a half an inch, you're almost on your peak fertile day. There's only 3 days that a woman can get pregnant, but because the sperm can live like 5, you got to watch out for all 5 of those days. It's a lot of information. And actually, you need mucus in order for the sperm to get through. So like, there's your little sperm. I think there's 500,000 that come out.
That's
for real. 500,000.
That's a lot.
So the likelihood of getting pregnant, I know that there's only 5 days in a month, but actually the egg is only really viable for 12 to 24 hours. So like the egg comes out, the egg sheds, the hormone is progesterone. I'm making sure I'm getting it right. So there's estrogen and progesterone. When your progesterone goes to a certain level, that's when you shed the entire, I'm blanking on it now, the wall of the lining, the uterus. That's what the period is. That's what the blood is. So when your progesterone gets to a certain amount, that's when the egg goes through. And if it actually is fertilized, you don't make that certain amount of progesterone, so you don't shed the uterine lining because you want to keep it, and it houses the baby essentially. So that's an important piece. I'm going to look at it from here. Oh shit, I can't even see that. Never mind.
Are y'all okay if you take his mask off? Because I know this is bothering him. I don't mind if you take your mask off.
I don't want to be spreading COVID on you guys. All right, I appreciate that. So yeah, it's the uterine wall. So that is what you guys know. Actually, you get fertilized while it's still in your fallopian tube. And then the egg travels out, and it's actually multiplying. It goes from 1 cell to 2 to 4 to 8 to 16 to 32. By the time it gets here, that looks like 32 or 64, and then it attaches to the uterine wall because you're not producing that progesterone. So yeah, continued cell division, formation of intercell mass for 4 to 5 days. Embryo attaches to the uterine wall. Embryo now is a blastocyst joined on the uterine wall for 11 to 12 days. So very quickly, there is life. Actually, some of the birth control pills, the way that they do work is they do make it so that this thing cannot attach to the uterine wall. So you actually do have conception in here, but because it's not able to attach there, it goes out of your system with the pill. That's partly why, a lot of more spiritual components push the Creighton method and things of that nature, because they're saying, do we start over or something? Okay. They're saying you're already doing cell division here, because, you got the sperm. They actually can hang out even as long as there's mucus, they can hang out 3 to 5 days. They can live there. And the egg is viable for 12 to 24 hours. So as long as that 5 days of sperm living with mucus matches up with the 12 to 24 hours of the egg viability, one gets in and then it shuts it off. Sometimes you drop 2 eggs and you have twins. That would be frightening. We have Irish twins, and that's bad enough. Imagine 2. Any of you guys have twins in your family?
Yes.
How is that? How was your mom? Was she like cray the
They
whole
were
time?
born like in 24 weeks, so they was in NICU when they was for like a good 3-4 months when they was first born.
Oh, so like one was born prematurely.
They was both came out the same month. So.
Oh, they came out at the same time.
Yeah.
And they
Damn. At the same time?
Not at the same time. Like, they twins, same day.
right. So like within 5 minutes of each other.
Yeah.
Okay. And so the fetus is viable at 23 weeks outside of the womb. I know that we have to give it like breathing devices and like nutrition and blood, oxygen, all of the above. But literally I think you have fingerprints and a heartbeat at 6 or 7 weeks. There's just different details in that. So your stages of prenatal development, and what time is it anyways? This will make you excited because 3:45 is our end time, but we have a faculty meeting every Thursday.
At what time?
3:46. Well, I have to walk over there. I'm gonna walk to like the education department. I wouldn't say English, but it's education department.
So like 3:30, you want me to tell you when it's like 3:30?
Even earlier. Yeah, we got 19 minutes. Shoot, let's end it in 12. Let's freaking cut it off and get you guys out of here. It's weekend if you don't have summer or
I
Friday.
know, I got work tomorrow at 5 o'clock in the morning. So
Where
if you
at?
want me to leave?
Where
It's in
at?
Monroe. It's in Monroe. It's like 40 minutes from here.
What do you do?
I work at a factory.
Okay.
They pay me good.
Amazon?
No, I was at Amazon.
Where are you?
Which Walmart across the street and they pay almost double.
No.
Yeah.
So like the at-home delivery stuff that.
So I just prepare people orders. Like people order the stuff and I like go put it in the case so it can ship out.
Because we just ordered the climbing blocks for our 13-month-old.
Yeah, I've been seeing all type of stuff. Like for some
Amazon.
reason, people really love their dogs and be getting a lot of like dog food and like dog.
Those are
treats and
heavy.
stuff. Yes, they are extremely heavy.
This summer I delivered.
Imagine picking up 50 pounds of dog food in the air. It's not fun.
Well, they don't pay us enough to be social workers and teachers, so I delivered for Amazon and DoorDash this summer. Both of them had me deliver dog food, 50-pound bags.
Yep.
And then one time I delivered to the wrong address.
Yeah.
And so I had to come back and get the damn dog food and deliver it to
And it's
another
never
address.
just one. Like when I'm at it, it's always like 5. Like they want 5 orders and I just gotta make it.
So it keeps you in shape, I guess.
I'm like, sure.
Right.
Sure.
I think it's like when you do the deliveries, but they're tearing up your car, you can average 20 to 35 an hour, but you're tearing up your car if you're delivering it. So
Yeah,
what,
see, Walmart paid $21.60 starting off.
that's 42,000 a year,
Yeah, Walmart paid 21. I get paid $21.60.
40 hours a week.
Well, no,
If
I
you
don't
want
work in
it.
school, so I only work like 36 because I only work Friday, Saturday, and
Damn,
Sunday.
that's still like 39,000.
Yeah, it's still
Where do
It's in
I
Monroe. It's in Monroe. It's like
Monroe,
40
Ohio,
minutes.
exit 30, isn't it?
29.
Okay,
Exit 29.
right. Dang, they still hiring?
Yeah.
All right.
They are. They hire like crazy. Actually.
So I ordered from them last night development blocks for my kids like climbing curtains. What was my wife saying? Doing somersaults off the couch. Normal development for a kid. She's just nuts. My wife's trying to breastfeed. She's got a 3-month-old. And we're like, what the hell do we do? We didn't think we could have kids. So
I'm
we're
pretty
like,
sure you prefer to have them this age than like 18, 19.
they're pretty bad when they're that age, aren't they? Right. Yeah, so it depends. I'll be 61 when he finishes high school. That kind of sucks. But whatever. I'm sure some people in here have parents in their 50s.
My dad's 58 and my sister just graduated from high school.
Okay, same thing, right.
My grandfather has a one who, he's 64. He just traded going to high school. Like, I
Okay.
think this is his freshman year.
Okay.
If he's not in middle school. So that's makes good.
Yeah.
My uncle, his friend, like 57, his baby 8 months.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
So again, there's like Viagra, or if the man stays in good shape at
They
58.
want me to call him uncle, and I'm just like, no. No, you like
Right.
half my age. I'm not doing it.
Right. Yeah. So of course your body probably is in, I would imagine at 20, you're in your best shape for, they said physically, man and the woman, I think your peak is 20, like eyesight, hearing, muscles, all that. And then at 21, you start.
I thought it was 25.
Yeah.
Right there.
I guess, yeah, maybe it's different for men. I remember in my psychology class, that's when I was like,
I think it's 25 for males. I don't remember what it is.
okay. Because they're like, you're at your peak, and I was 20 at the time. I'm like,
Yeah.
because you're like feeling all good, you're like in shape, easy, and you barely work out, and like,
I don't know though, because COVID made me lazy. I don't even like
Right. Right.
Right. I don't like getting on the bed. I got a whole gym membership, and I've been like twice this whole year.
Right.
So.
It's so to house a baby at 20, it is probably easier than my wife was 35, but she was definitely like, this sucks. So we still were able to have them, and infertility, which they talk about later on, is a real thing. So I'm sure all of you know somebody who had infertility, and it's sad. There is options, but not always. Like, I guess nowadays you could do a test tube baby and put it in there, but you still need to have like the proper devices, like a uterus and a few other things. But you're an embryo for 2 to 7 weeks, and that's because during that time, 90% of everything is formed. So you got a liver, you got a kidney, you got a heart, you can hear the heartbeat, which is crazy. Like a freaking thing is like the size of a pea, I think, and it has like a heart and fingerprints. Critical period is the embryo is most vulnerable to the environment. So most miscarriages actually happen here and up. You don't tell people you're pregnant until like the 12th week. So 3 months, first 3 months, 90% of all miscarriages happen, just because that's the critical, like lots of things can affect you. Again, like if you drank a beer and the baby's that big and the beer's that big, that could kill the baby. So things like that. Fetus, 8 to 40 weeks. That's where you get your refinement and growth of basic structures. The last 2 months, the baby starts storing fat. Actually, the baby almost gains a pound every week the last 3 or 4 weeks. So I think ours was 4 pounds, then at 36 weeks, 5 pounds, 37 weeks, 7 pounds. He was born at 38 weeks. You can have a baby. Normal range is in the 38th week or the 40th week, which seems like 10 months, doesn't it? You're like, why is it 40 weeks? That would be 10 months if you're pregnant? No, because they count from your last menstrual cycle. So generally, you don't conceive until 2 weeks after your last menstrual cycle, because that's when your like peak fertility is. So they count weeks 1 and 2 as like your menstrual cycle, week after the menstrual cycle, then you drop an egg. But they count those even though there's nothing formed until generally week 2, and that's why it goes up to 40 weeks. Does that make sense to everybody? Because you aren't pregnant for 40 weeks. That would probably make most people not want to have kids.
I don't want to have kids.
Right. 38 weeks is enough. 40 would be terrible. You're only pregnant for like 36 to 38. So refinement and growth of basic structures. The last 2 months stores fat. At 24 weeks, you have a chance of survival outside of the womb. So again, that's like still very premature, but you have everything. They're probably like that. Have you seen the preemie babies that are like crazy that they can keep them alive? But they got like the breathing tubes and the feeding tubes and the freaking. The most important is the lungs are developing towards the end. So you really want to stay in there till you're baked all the way. Like people always say, you got to cook the baby 38 weeks. You do, as your lungs are developing. Our dude was born at, I think it was 37.5 weeks. And like, I was freaked out at first because you hear him like trying to cry and like there's all this crap in his lungs. And he's like, and you're like, I'm like, dude, is he going to die? And they're like, oh, he's fine. As long as he doesn't turn blue, he's okay. I'm like, what the hell? Like, I thought he couldn't breathe. They're like, yeah, he's fine. And they're like sucking mucus out of his lungs and nasty crap.
My little cousin was premature. He had to stay in there for like 4 to 6 months. I don't remember. He was like, you can hold him.
Are you serious?
Like this. Now he bigger than me.
Did they hold him?
But yeah, if you look at pictures, his mom got a small hand, and he literally was in her hand just like this. And he's huge now. He's a senior.
That's amazing. That is kind of cool. I'm like
He got his
afraid.
little diapers because he had to like, get special diapers because he was so small.
I'm afraid to hold my own baby. You know what I mean? You're like, I'm gonna drop it, and like, let alone holding a premature baby. So it's like, you guys ever get scared of holding a baby?
I love babies. I don't like when they talk back. Like,
I know.
when they get like 3, y'all can have them. That's too long.
Because they're so fragile and like their freaking heads like,
Yeah.
like, dude. So my wife's like, you're not holding it right. And I'm like, all right, I'm gonna get back to work. It's like, but you're never here. And I'm like, I'm paying for a whole. So we do, luckily we are blessed to be able to have her stay home. But you make a lot of, like, for real, you have no damn money, like nothing. So it's okay, but it sucks. Term pregnancy. So the early term is 37 weeks. That's when our second baby was born. He was a little early. He was still full term, which is 37 weeks, but he had about 5 days. The second term, full term, is 39 weeks up to 39 and 40. That was almost our second baby, or our first baby was born there. Late term is if you're born at, that would suck if you had the baby at 41 weeks. That means the baby's staying in too long. And post-term is 42. Nowadays, they'll induce you so you don't go past 40. Like at 39, they will shoot you full of hormone that makes your stomach like start pushing it out. You start, and it hurts like hell. You're like that's how my wife was. So it's like an alien coming out of you, but you're okay. So anyway, prenatal life support systems. So again, the placenta. They had me cut the umbilical cord. That was so gross. Because it's like, it's just weird, you know what I mean? You're like cutting skin, like you feel it like going through it, and it's like, you know, like that, and it's all white. And you're cutting it.
Yeah.
Ugh. Placenta, small molecules pass between mother and embryo. So that's again where some people actually keep their placenta.
Oh, yeah, that's the thing. That's really the thing.
And make it into pills.
Yeah. People really do that. Like, I thought that was just.
You can search it like babies. There's traditions. Like different countries have different traditions. Some like cooking with their eggs.
Yeah.
They cook it with their eggs. Some make it into pills because it has all of the like stem cells that like would heal your body if you got some type of disease later on in life. It's like, and why they harvest aborted baby parts, because they want those stem cells. But ethically, the question becomes, is that okay? You know, like, can they take aborted stem cells and turn them into like vaccines and whatnot?
Is that illegal now?
It's supposed to be. It is supposed to be. And if you guys watch Unplanned, the movie, so I like to do like a full. What would you say? I like to give you information from all sides, so you guys have, you know. Let's see here. Trailer. Have you ever heard of this? It's probably on. I'll show you. Because she was. Right, I think it is. She worked in Planned Parenthood for a while, and then I'll just show it to you guys.
It look like it'd be pretty good, actually, man. Good luck.
I know it's crazy, but of course it's not gonna.
Here.
Our first order of business is to present Planned Parenthood's Employee of the Year Award. Abby Johnson.
This is Abby. She's our newest volunteer escort. Abby, this is Cheryl Alessandro.
I'd be the youngest director in Planned Parenthood history. You'll actually be in charge of the emotions at your clinic. I have a chance to make a real difference.
No matter what you do for the rest of your life, you're still gonna be a baby killer.
The only thing that's changed is you, Abby. You even hear yourself talk right now about these procedures? These are little babies.
I'm not going to apologize for doing a job that helps women in crisis. There's still a part of me that is unsure. But the one thing that all experts agree on is that at this stage, the fetus can't feel anything.
Sorry to bother you, but they need an extra person in the back room. Are you free?
I saw it. It was like it was twisting and fighting for its life.
Carrying the souls of these hundreds of children. And Lord, we pray to end abortion.
I really appreciate what you've done for us. You'll never forget it.
Trying to thousand abortions. How do you even comprehend?
Rough day at the office.
So this is a true story. I guess that's why it's kind of revealing for folks. Like it kind of shows the full spectrum.
Sure you happen me. You are a baby from the moment of conception.
We are paying you to be a puppet, instrument of corporate policy. We are an abortion provider.
I can't ignore this anymore. Everything that they told us is a lie.
Don't underestimate the repercussions of this. You gotta be careful.
Rhonda, please don't do it. Rhonda!
Let me tell you what's going to happen if you walk through that door.
Congratulations. You've made an enemy of one of the most powerful organizations on the planet.
So this was a true story. I don't know what year it came out, but it was very recently. And it's kind of someone who did work at Planned Parenthood and a conversion story. So it shows that side and then her going to the other side. So you can see the full spectrum and make a decision.
So good to be here with all of you.
And it probably is on Netflix or on Amazon.
I gotta fire you. I'll be watching.
Okay, yeah, that sounded like the hack of all of them, right?
Yep.
Okay. So the last thing is the amnion bag, which in which the embryo floats. Actually, that broke for our first pregnancy, so we had to go in and have the baby. Like she had to be induced because my wife. They said this was leaking. So basically, it holds the fluid that keeps the baby. It's really weird. The belly's all hard, like a shell, like a turtle shell. It should press on. I'm like, no. But that broke, and so we had to be induced before all the water ran out because that would have made the baby kind of sick. There's the abortion. So it's the spontaneous induced ending of pregnancy. 75% of spontaneous abortions occur in the first 12 weeks. Not all vaginal bleeding is a miscarriage. Social worker plays a supportive role. No matter what, you may get someone in counseling that has had an abortion. You separate personal from professional values, and if you are uncomfortable maybe doing that, you ask your supervisor to work with other folks. Women have less regret and emotional problems when the choice is not forced. Stages of labor. So we'll kind of get onto this. But first, the baby has to turn upside down. So at 36 or 37 weeks, the baby does a flip, and its head is down here, chilling out. For 36 weeks, the cervix is closed, so it holds the baby in there, and nothing else can get in, no viruses or bad things or whatever. You often, usually, first you birth the baby that's in like the active phase. I think when we went to the hospital, my wife wanted to kill the doctor. He's like, "You're not dilated enough. You guys got to go home." And we were like, she was like, "What?" Because she was having active labor, but then the shift change occurred, and the doctor's like, "Well, you went from 2 to 4. I think they want you to be like at 4." But she was actively changing. So luckily, the second doctor's like, "No, actually, you should stay." And we had the baby. Then you have the placenta after that. I actually took pictures of it because I'd never seen one. I'm like, what the hell? I didn't put it on Facebook. I had a friend who had twins with home birth, and he put their picture and the placentas on Facebook. I'm like, what the? That was just different. So, like I said, culturally, you try to like everybody has a different route of going with how they do things. So the first 12 to 14 hours, the cervix dilates to 10 centimeters. So I think that's only like about that, which the baby's head also smushes as it goes through, so it's able to fit. They sometimes come out with like a cone head. It's funny looking. They got a freaking cone head. Then the second one is maybe, it could be 10 minutes or it could be 3 hours. And that's when the baby's delivered. I feel like my wife, 3+ hours. I think she had like 15 to 20 hours on our first child because she was induced. And then she also got that shot that paralyzes you. Yeah. So she didn't know if she was pushing or not. You know what I mean? But if you go all natural, you're going to be screaming. So she's like, I'm not going all natural, which is respected. The baby.
My auntie had her baby. I promise to God, I'm not making it. She had her baby. You know how doctors be like, what's your name? Stuff like that. She said drugs, like drug. That's what she told him. She told him her name was drug because she wanted it.
Good.
So
and they give you fentanyl in that stuff now. So that's the like street drug that's like heroin.
I thought that could kill you.
If you take the wrong amount, it will kill you. It's like a snowflake. So like if you like put that into a spoon and shot it up, and then carfentanil is like a grain of sand. So you do have to be careful, like why you want to do it in a medical facility, not like shooting up on the streets. That's a whole nother opioid epidemic we'll get into later in class. But for now, yeah, the stages of labor. The fourth one with the baby, yeah, your placenta's delivered. Then after that, we both did skin on skin. So like they took the footprints. I took my shirt off, held the baby. I had like little footprints on me, and that's key. They don't wash the baby. You don't want to wash them for 24 hours because there's good bacteria that like actually show. There's research studies that show you don't want to wash that stuff off. They look nasty. They got mucus all over them and like bacteria, but you want to keep that on them. Like you don't give a baby a bath for the first 24 hours. So now that the baby's here, we've already gotten to, next week we'll get into newborns here, it says, and like the sizes and all that. But as of now, we're going to stop on the golden hour. It's skin to skin. It's critical for bonding and growth and development of the baby. And family time, the recovery time. So any questions? It's a lot. I was the same where I definitely, in my 20s and 30s, I don't think that I was ready for kids at all. And I got married late, and part of you is like, it would be kind of cool to have a thing we raised together and call it thing 1 and thing 2.
Get a dog.
It is. It's funny. And then she's a punk. She just turned 1. Oh, that's not. Let's see if I can. He said, "Hi there. Is it okay to send you some students who need last-minute advising? Is that any of you guys?" That's the chair of our department. Here's my 1-year-old. She's a punk. She's like, she was so bad the other day. But it's not bad. They're just doing normal crap. Like that's how they learn. They like break things and like,
I don't really have patience to do stuff like that.
Right. A lot of people don't, for sure.
Yeah, it's exactly. That's a dog. That's pushing.
But if you guys don't have any questions, that is all of my stuff
Did you
for.
take attendance?
I do have a sheet. I did the sheet last time, but none of you were here, so I guess that's hilarious.
How many of us is it supposed to be? Do you know?
We were trying to figure out last. I mean, you can drop it still, so it's like just.
I take the MBA, it's fine.
What's that?
I take the MBA.
Yeah, this I do love that this is like life. This class is life. So, the major projects are genogram, ecomap, and we'll be having those. I guess did I put that up yet? You guys have a place. You'll turn it in on Schoology, and a presentation on major mental health disorders. So that'll be like September, October, November, and you can write your final paper on that major mental health disorder, or do the one that's in the syllabus, so like your family history and like how the genetics affect you as a person. So that should be everything.